It's the 5th of October, and it certainly feels as if we're getting towards a period of peak craziness. It's clearly going to get darker, but we have arrived at something of a milestone. In Australia, for example, Melbourne, 247 days in lockdown, no sign of that ending. Dan Andrews still in place, and people being dragged by groups of police officers off of sidewalks for stopping to have something to eat less than 500 metres from their home address, with a mask in their pocket that they took off in order to be able to eat. In New Zealand, the neighbour, Jacinda Ardern, says, oh, well, maybe lockdowns don't work, maybe zero COVID isn't possible, but not to worry. Yeah, not to worry, Jacinda. Just like thousands of people have missed their cancer treatments, and 4 or 5 New Zealanders at least are killing themselves every day because of lockdown. But oh, not to worry. In Israel, a place where they had one of the fastest and highest rates of vaccination anywhere on the planet, they also now have one of the fastest growing cases of COVID anywhere on the planet. They've just decided that anybody who had their double jab, so who took the vaccine as they were told to do, their vaccine passport now won't count. It won't be good enough that you're double jabbed. You now have to have had the booster as well. You see where it doesn't really end, does it? And here in New York City, it is an apartheid city. You have to show your papers in order to be able to enter a restaurant or a theatre or any place indoors. People are building rapidly kind of bits of restaurant on the sidewalks in order that the unvaccinated have a place to eat. And winter is coming. We live in such strange times. None of these leaders have a system that works. In Israel, the vaccine passport didn't work. Now you have to be boosted. Jacinda Ardern wanted lockdown for 0 cases. That hasn't worked. In New York, they're not having the vaccine fast enough, so they're banning them from the restaurants, and that hasn't worked. None of them seem to have the answer. I think one of the questions many of us have is, how is it that police officers are so willing to go along with this? Like, at what point did you not think, when you're being asked to tackle an elderly lady, for example, at what point do you just hand in your badge and say, I want no part of this? How is it that so many healthcare professionals are going along with all of this? How are they going into places where they're supposed to be looking after people and playing cards for the day or board games because there's no patients around? How are more health professionals not speaking out? And you know, the thing that strikes me most of all is whenever there's something awful that happens with gun violence here in America, you like a school shooting, you know, it's all about time to take away weapons, time to remove the Second Amendment, ban the NRA, aren't weapons awful, white supremacists, blah, blah, blah. But it is at times like this you realise the difference between Americans and everybody else. Ask any country, are you happy that you handed in your weapons? Are you happy that you are an unarmed civilian population? Because there is one thing and one thing alone that separates America from the rest of the planet right now, and that is that they still have their Second Amendment. They have their right to defend their God-given freedom. No one talks about gun ownership at a time like this, but right now, across this world of ours, it looks like that's what this whole situation is going to come down to. Anyway, more from me, Katie Hopkins, shortly. And I say to all of my Australian family, we haven't forgotten you. We will keep speaking about what's being done to you. Please try and hang on in there if you can. And you will know from my deported tattoo now on my arse. I've sent a picture of it to the Deputy Prime Minister and the Prime Minister. I would have sent a picture of it to Gladys, but she's had to resign on possible corruption charges. Can't think what those might be. But you know what? You can deport my arse, but you cannot deport the truth. And the truth eventually will come out.